Yeah,
You're
that's
my
why I said that's a lot of pressure.
Listen, you're my person, okay? Uh, you're my sister. You always been my person. And if I'm gonna tell somebody something, I feel like I should tell you. It feels a lot easier to tell you than tell mom and dad sometimes because I don't want them to worry. I'm not saying that you
I was
won't
like, "So what you
worry.
think is happening with me when you
I'm
tell
not
me all
saying
this stuff?"
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you won't worry, but I feel like you might be able to take it in stride a lot more, or it appears to me that you can take it out in stride a lot more.
Welcome to the Brannon Files podcast,
I'm Brandy.
and I'm Shannon, also known as Brannon,
I'm the older sister.
and I'm the younger.
As Black women, we've had a lifetime of adventures, including world travel, navigating work, and adjusting to evolving family dynamics.
Join us as we dig deep into the files to share stories, experiences, and tips.
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up, Shannon?
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Ow!
Hey, back at it.
Hey, we back at it again.
Yes, we are. So you know how we start this out. What have you navigated since the last time we met, sis?
Ooh, okay. Since the last time we met, what I navigated through was getting back in the gym after a week off. It doesn't sound like a lot, but ooh, my body was like, girl, what are you doing? You were just in a different time zone, 3 hours off from now. I'm tired and you got me in the gym. You trying to be here 5 days a week again? I don't know what you're doing after being off for a whole week.
Well, you know they say it takes 3 weeks to make a habit and 3 days to break the habit. So if you're gone for a week, you know,
I mean, the habit wasn't broken because I have a great gym community and my trainer's not going to let me not be great. So, like, I really appreciate him for that. But he also knows that when I say that I need a minute, I like really need a minute. There's some people who say that and they're just trying to get over it. But if you hear those words come out of my mouth, it means my body is telling me to go sit down. So I actually like took a day that I did not go to the gym this week also and like took a nap, which is not normal for me either. So my body was really telling
you
me like,
needed that
"Girl,
rest.
chill out. You've been
Did you
doing
some
the
did you do a
most."
bath with some Epsom salt? Were you sore?
I was sore, but I'm always sore. Like every time the workout gets easier, it also gets harder again. Because if it's getting too easy, that just means you're not doing enough weight. Like if your body weight becomes too easy, we're just gonna put a vest on you, or we're gonna add some more weight to it. Like it never gets easier, and I
I
never
love you. Look,
am
I
not
love your
sore.
dedication because I'm dreaming about you while you're at the gym. I mean, I probably need to actually try and do something a little along with it, but no, you've been at it and you've been going strong for some time now. So I
Yeah,
love that.
thank you. It's been like over a year. At
Wow.
first, like during the pandemic, I started doing it just because I was at home by myself, not moving, like barely at all. Maybe I'd take a couple of walks around the neighborhood, but it was just like I need to move my body.
Yeah.
Like I was an athlete, or I guess in you never stop being an athlete, you just might stop playing a sport.
Well, that's
Um,
fair. I never heard that, but I like that. That's true.
Yeah. So I realized that like most of my life, I was always moving. Like, you know how practices were. We were always playing a sport and going somewhere for that sport or
Yeah.
practicing the sport. So this is really to me just like getting back into the lifestyle that I had before. So going to the gym 5 days a week is like playing my sport 5 days a week.
I like it. Yeah, and y'all do have a really good gym community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
super supportive. But what have you navigated through?
Listen, this LA traffic, okay? Because that is a whole navigation. I don't have to drive as much because I work from home, but I feel like lately I've just kind of either had things to go to or people to meet up with. And there are a lot of lanes in LA, a lot of lanes going in each direction. And it still sometimes perplexes me when I'm driving and I get to the point where it's backed up, but there wasn't even an accident. Like, why? Why is the traffic backed up like this? And I don't know. I don't really feel like there's even like a reverse commute here in LA. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like at any time of day in any direction. Like, why on a Saturday is it backed up? And I feel like going downtown, especially on a Saturday, not even having a sporting event going on or a concert or anything, going downtown is always backed up. Excuse me. And I can't figure out why. I don't know. But yes, I've been
I mean,
navigating LA traffic.
I live in Atlanta, so we can have traffic battle stories here because we're like the main thoroughfare of the Southeast, and the semi trucks take over. So it doesn't really
Mm.
matter what day of the week it is here either. There are semis all the time. So if they're not able to get through, or there's something going on where like they need to get all the way over to exit, that's going to hold the rest of us up. And like we just have to share the road with each other because we all want to be safe.
Yeah, and that is one thing now that you say that though. Obviously, we must have semis in LA, but I don't see as many semis as often. I don't know if there's like kind of like a loop around that they're mostly going on, but that's not usually the problem. It's not the semis. I guess it's just the sheer volume of folks. But whoo, child,
Yeah,
I just
I
am
have been
like,
able to reconcile it by recognizing that it's the semis in the Southeast.
I wish that I had somebody ride with me because that HOV, that brings me life and it brings me joy. Because then I'll be like, when I have company, I'm like, yes, I get to ride in the HOV lane. We're going to make it in like 20 minutes earlier because we got this HOV lane. But yeah, that's what I've been navigating since the last time we spoke.
Well, thanks so much for sharing about your navigating this week. In today's episode, we're going to discuss our recent experiences with doctors, nurses, other healthcare professionals, medical teams. So be sure to listen all the way through because we have a tip for you at the end about navigating healthcare.
For sure, for sure. So, Shan, what
Mhm.
has been your experience with the healthcare system?
Well, there are some things that changed. Like, I never really thought about it when I was smaller. And I don't mean younger, because we talk about childhood a lot. I actually mean like I am fully on Black and plus sized. So, like being a plus size woman and being a Black woman, that's like a double hit. Like people look at you and treat you slightly different because they make assumptions. And I feel like I've had some healthcare professionals do what Malcolm Gladwell calls thin slicing, where you're taking like not a lot of information and you're making a snap judgment. And sometimes you get that right and sometimes you get it wrong. I
Mm.
had a more recent telehealth appointment with a new doctor, like not somebody that I normally go to.
Now, would
And
telehealth, just sorry, real quick, would telehealth be somebody you might one day see in person, or it's just like a random person that gets assigned to to like your telehealth call?
Well, this particular time, it was somebody that I was recommended to. So, like,
Okay,
yeah, I possibly could have seen them in person at some point. But after this telehealth visit, I didn't want to ever see them again, whether it was
tell me more.
virtual or
Tell
in
me more.
person. So, uh, this particular doctor, got on the call and was probably at home. I don't know where she was. But she made some snap judgments about my health and told me that I had something that I don't have. So she was like, I swear you told me that you have this. And I was like, no, that wasn't me. So I mean, I'll just say it because I'm okay with this part. But she told me that I had diabetes, and that is not something that I have. It's something that runs in our family, and so I'm always like on the lookout for it and trying to make sure that I don't have it, and going to the gym and staying healthy and eating the way that I should be. But I feel like she made a snap judgment based on who she saw before her. Like she
Mm,
saw me as a
mm.
black woman and who was plus size rather than actually reading my chart that should have also been in front of her.
Which
Like,
she should have read before the appointment, like
right,
educated herself on who she's about to see.
exactly. So
That
I feel
part.
like I don't know if you thought of the patient you saw before me or if you're making a decision based on who you see before you. But what that told me is that you are not a doctor that I ever want to communicate with again because you couldn't take the time to read my chart.
I'm really sorry you had to deal with that because that's terrible. And you hear stories all the time about the biases in healthcare, and like you said, just assumptions and judgments without looking at one piece of the chart, and that's
Right.
not cool. And it doesn't make people feel good.
No,
And
it doesn't.
how you gonna put a disease on somebody that they don't even have? Like that's
Right.
major. What if you
That
weren't astute enough to just speak up for yourself and you're thinking that maybe there's something in the chart that you don't know that somebody hasn't told you?
right. So that was I that's what I said to her. Like I was just like, unless you're telling me something I don't know, I don't have diabetes. And then she kinda got a little flustered and was like, "Oh, I mean, well, I'm sure you said it." "No, I didn't say it."
And I've
Because
never seen you before, so when would I have said it, by the way?
yeah, so that's my experience with the healthcare system. I mean, I've got more stories, but I wanna hear what your situation has been.
Yeah, I think one of my situations with the healthcare system is just how different it can be domestically and internationally.
Mm.
Having lived overseas, it's just a whole different level of, I think, attention to healthcare. Um, I lived in the UAE, and there, healthcare was a part of our package. So, for one thing, it's a lot less trying to jump through hoops to figure out if your insurance is going to cover it or not,
Oh,
because
say that
it's
again, because
it's it's already covered, right? You know, when you go to the doctor, they're not going to ask you a million questions to see if they even want to treat you based on if you have insurance or not, what kind of insurance it is. You know that you are going to go there and receive care. So,
that's
and
amazing.
yes,
That's a whole different feeling.
that is a whole different feeling. And all employers are required to have it. So it's also not a matter of you knowing, again, if you're going to have it or not, your job is going to provide that for you.
Mm.
So it's a good feeling to know that you don't have to worry about those things. Co-pays are a minimum, very minimum. I mean, of course, there are still a little bit of different levels of insurance your employer can get you, but because it is subsidized by the government, it's going to be a much lower cost of a copay. And so um, I ended up having a surgery over there. And so that's even kind of a whole different thing because there's so many things to think about being that far away from your family.
Yeah, you were
So
deep into that medical system.
deep in the medical system, right? It's like the comfort of knowing that you're covered and you're going to get good care, but at the same time, like I ended up having to go like under anesthesia. So going under anesthesia in a whole different country and not having a family member there is also a different feeling. So
Not to make this about me, but I'm gonna make it about me for a second. Where
yeah, go
was
ahead.
I? How did I not travel to come while you were getting put under?
I mean, probably being a whole adult and working. And I think that, I don't know that anyone would have not come, like you or mom or whatever, but I think I just was like, it's okay. Like, like this is where my life is. Like I have to figure it out.
Oh,
And thank
you were trying
God
to be a whole adult. That's what
I
happened.
was, well, I was trying to be a whole adult, but thank God I also had very good friends there. So I was by myself in the fact that I didn't have my family, but my employer again was very supportive and they allowed one of my colleagues who's a very dear friend to be with me and be at the hospital with me so that two of us take the day off of work so that
Um,
she could be there. So I
but
wasn't.
see, but even that you just said, that is something that does not happen here. If I was like, "My friend is having surgery," the US wouldn't let me take off.
Yeah, that
Like,
they
they
yeah.
barely let you take off for an extended family member. Like, you how are
And
you
if they
gonna tell me
did, then
that
that's
my
that
cousin
person.
isn't my like, that my first cousin isn't worthy of me taking off work? Like, yeah, sorry.
That's
Keep
true.
going.
Yeah, no, and I was like, not only that, like, then if the friend did say they would, they'd have to take some of their precious vacation days and all that kind of thing. And we didn't have that situation. They knew, I mean, like, we're really like a family as coworkers, and even the local people, the Marathis and us. So they just let her come off for part of the day to be with me like family. So it was no counting days off or things like that. So you're
I
right.
love that. That's
Having that
amazing.
supportive environment is totally different. Um, and thank God she was there because I am not a good person when I come out of anesthesia. Okay, that's what I have.
No,
That's
I
what.
have been there for some of that.
Yeah, it's
Those wisdom teeth, though?
that's what I'm talking about. Like I'm saying, like time and time again, I haven't had to go under very often, but the times that I have, the person that I come out after is just like a very emotional being, very emotional. We're just gonna leave it right there. So anybody who has been nice enough to be with me after that, please know that I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all very much, and I love you. So yeah, that's my experience with healthcare system though. It's just really appreciating countries that have national healthcare. I know there's like lots of debate with some people agreeing or not agreeing, but I think there's a level of just um, comfort when everybody knows that they will have some healthcare
Yeah.
provided to them.
We enjoy talking with each other, but we also want to talk with you. Comment, subscribe, like, and follow at Brannon Files on YouTube, IG, and Facebook. Don't forget to turn on your notifications to know when we have new content to share. So, I know we've both had a few different experiences with healthcare systems globally, mostly in the US for me and internationally for you. But when you are just thinking about your health overall, who do you share your health history with? Because that's a lot of pressure.
You.
Yeah,
You're
that's
my
why I said that's a lot of pressure.
Listen, you're my person, okay? Uh, you're my sister, you always been my person. And if I'm gonna tell somebody something, I feel like I should tell you. It feels a lot easier to tell you than tell mom and dad sometimes because I don't want them to worry. I'm not saying that you
I was
won't
like, "So what you
worry.
think is happening with me when you
I'm
tell
not
me all
saying
this stuff?"
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you won't worry, but I feel like you might be able to take it in stride a lot more, or it appears to me that you can take it out in stride a lot more. But now you just said it's a lot of pressure. So shoot, maybe I need to change that idea.
So really the pressure point comes in when you only want me to know, and I'm not supposed to tell mom and dad until you're ready to tell them. That's where the pressure comes in because I'm like, "Well, if something goes wrong and I knew about it and they didn't know about it," that's where the pressure comes in. It's not knowing what's going on with you, it's just if there's something big, I'm like, "Okay, I don't wanna hold all this." That's where it that's where
I
it
mean, I
is.
can appreciate that. I mean, like I've started to try and tell them a little bit more, but I like to try and get some more information. So when I do tell them, I already kind of already have the solution or the answer before it even gets to them. So I'll try to make you not hold it this long. I can't promise I'm not going to still tell you first to tell you not to tell them, or unless I just don't tell you. But then who else am I going to
But
tell?
no, I don't want you not to tell me. I'm
I was
just
like,
saying it's a lot of pressure. That's all. That's all. Like, I'm just gonna say what I said again because that's what I do. Uh, it's a lot of pressure. But I appreciate that you do tell me because someone should know because you shouldn't be carrying that on your own either. So I'm glad that we have the relationship that we do and you trust me enough to with that information. So I'm thankful for that. I don't
love
put the
you.
pressure back on you though, however.
That's what I was
I
going to say. Who
I
do you
share
think?
mine with our cousin who is actually a nurse, which I don't mean to put that pressure on her either, because no matter who you tell, it's a lot of pressure.
If
I
they're
just
the only
know
one, yes, then there's pressure.
yeah,
I agree. I think the pressure lessens when it's just known.
yeah. And with her, because I don't want her to ever feel like um, she's giving me medical advice per se. I just ask more questions about a thing rather than saying what should I do? Like it's not like that with me sharing with her. It's more along the lines of like, what would you do? Is one of the questions because she has a lot of perspective about the medical field from inside the medical field and has seen what her colleagues do or don't do based on what you say or don't say. So I
That's
ask her
fair.
I ask her
She might
more
see some of the bias right in real life, so she can tell you how to navigate that.
yeah. So I ask her more as a navigator, and more so than as a hold the keys because here's all my health history.
That's
And
fair.
I feel like I probably spread it around. Like, I think I spread my health history around the family a little bit. I probably need to do a better job of someone who really knows all of it. I think you do, but then sometimes we talk and you're like, I didn't know that. And so it might be that I forget who I told. It's not so much that I didn't mean to not tell you.
And it also might be that I think like I know pieces, but maybe I don't know how the whole story goes together or how it has evolved, right? Like maybe you
Yeah.
knew something, but then something later affected this or that, and I don't necessarily know how it goes together.
Yeah.
But I think that speaking of our cousin, it would be good if I did maybe for sure because she knows like ask her more of like a what would you do, but it also makes me think that like you said with her knowing some of the inside of how she's seen her colleagues react, that it's very important to have a health advocate, right? Like
Yeah.
not even just you telling a family member to hold the keys, but like having somebody else listen in to see if they heard something you didn't, especially if it's something big or major or a new change.
Yeah, I feel like mom has been that for lots of family members. Like, even if you think about, because again, it wouldn't be an episode if I didn't bring her up. But if you think about Granny and Granddaddy, like both of
Yeah.
our mom's parents, she really was one of the people that um,
And
spearheaded.
Granny Hendrick.
Yeah, and our great grandmother.
Yeah,
But she really spearheaded. I was gonna say she spearheaded, like, getting her siblings involved. Like, if she couldn't be there on the phone or at the doctor, like, making sure that one of her siblings was always with one of our grandparents, so that no matter what, like, it started out with people who were older, but it also she does that for her friends and as the peers, you
that is
know?
very true.
So I think it's really important to have a health advocate with you in some way. Like we all could use that. And so like they remember stuff that you may not have remembered or they heard it
Like
differently
I said,
than
they
you.
heard it differently. But
Yeah.
speaking of that, I just want to interject that like part of what we do talk about is changing family dynamics. And as much as mom is the advocate for everyone else, she is terrible at anyone else being an advocate or knowing about what's going on with her.
Yeah. So that's I mean, that is something as our parents get older that we also have gotten older and that we are looking out for them. Like we're not trying to parent them per se, but we know that there's some things that we've grown up with them, right?
Yeah.
So we see like
Changes.
I know when you skirting what I'm asking you. Like, it's
I know
like,
when you're skirting, I'm asking you, and I know when you're not moving the same as you have moved before.
well, there's that.
That
Yeah.
part. But it's just like but I feel like they also are want to protect us, and so sometimes they don't want us to know, but I definitely think that we're getting to a stage in our lives and our dynamics where it's more and more important for us to maybe be their advocates or hear what's going on at some of their appointments. I know mom does it for dad, but like I said, mom
Who
has
does it
not
for mom?
let us be included in anything yet. So it might be something we need to navigate and try and insert ourselves in.
Although dad, I will give it to him also. He's been more like saying, "I went to the doctor with your mom," and he means it like he went with her, not she went with him.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
but sometimes he's in the car, which I was
That's
like,
what I was gonna say. I was
I'll
gonna say, I
take
feel like he drove her to the
it.
doctor. I thought you were trying to tell me something that I didn't know that he was in there with her. No, I think that meant he drove her.
So we need to, maybe make that request that you go in and
Yeah.
hear also what's being said. Um, but I don't know, like, it's hard, right? As your parents get older and you get older, and we're so far away,
That's what I
neither
was
one
gonna say.
of
We're
us
not
live where
there.
they live,
Yeah.
uh, to we can't control what happens there, but we can maybe ask, "When is your appointment, and can you put me on the phone during your
Yeah, because I
appointment?"
was gonna say maybe on the phone somebody could still hear that. And I mean, I also think you made a good point that with mom and her siblings, like she spearheaded at least getting like an organization of somebody being there, and if they couldn't, it's probably like a time, especially since we live apart from each other and apart from them, that we even maybe start to set up a system with us to make
Yeah,
sure we know and are both helping each other out because it's a lot to be a caretaker, right? So, or
yeah.
even just an advocate. So, to spread the responsibility so that no one feels like what you said in the beginning that it's a lot of pressure, right?
Yeah, I mean, because I actually have been more of a health advocate, I'd say, for one of my friends who's going through some health challenges. And I know she was in the hospital for some weeks and she had lots of different people doing different things, but no one was really there with her. Like there were some people maybe that were around, but then like when I was traveling, so I wasn't there at the beginning, but when I was back, we've had conversations and she would put me on the phone when she was talking to the doctors and then she would ask me, like, did I miss anything? Like just as we've talked about, like what she wanted to ask when the doctors came back in the room and things like that. So it's been helpful even just to be like a sounding board for her as she's trying to figure out what questions to ask and like how she transitions from being in the hospital to being at home.
And I do like that you said there was a list of questions beforehand so
Yeah.
that you went into it with her so that she could go back to you and say, "Hey, okay, you heard what they said. Did we miss anything?"
Yep.
Because sometimes when you're getting lots of information, you might have had a whole agenda, but you're on information overload and you can't remember even maybe when the doctor first asked you what symptoms have you been having. Sometimes it's good to just make a note when you're having the symptoms, like in a little this is the tip before the tip. But sometimes like in your phone or something, you're having a symptom, make sure you put it in your phone or somewhere. So then when you get to the doctor, you don't forget to tell them, tell them what you were feeling or what was happening.
Oh yeah, I use all kinds of notes type taking apps in my phone and share them with you sometimes, but I could do a better job of doing that medically. Or like
Yeah.
I know dad really is like into his chart a lot. Like
He
the
does. He's
apps
all
that
into
they
the
have.
he's like, "Oh, I put it in the portal with my doctor."
Yeah,
Like,
so
"Okay."
he's communicating back and forth with his doctors, and that's a great new thing that's available as well. But it's just like advocating for yourself and having someone else that can help you navigate the advocating. It's time to dig into the files for today's tip.
So let's get into our tip of the day. Our tip of the day is to consider a holistic healthcare team. That could, I mean, some of that is influenced actually a bit by me having lived abroad and being exposed to other kinds of healthcare. But it might not only be your general practitioner, or if you're a woman, your gynecologist. But I personally like to incorporate naturopath and Eastern medicine into my healthcare experience, as well as chiropractic. So really think of your whole overall journey. And I go to chiropractic for wellness, not for pain. Same with acupuncture and Eastern medicine. What about you?
Well, I think because you've influenced me, I've started looking at my health in a more holistic way and from other perspectives, which is really like in alignment with who I am as a person, where I like to like know about other ways of doing things. But I think that being able to have that care team really looking at your health is important. So I have Eastern medicine and Western medicine together, and being able to take what my practitioner of Eastern medicine says and putting that back on my Western medicine team. And sometimes, like the person that I go to knows both, right? So they're versed in what types of drugs interact with some of like the herbs and the tinctures and powders and all the Eastern medicine things, to know what the effects might be. So it's really important that your teams can work together and understanding what each other
Absolutely.
are providing you.
Absolutely. And I also think part of the holistic healthcare team is having practitioners of color. I have three Black women practitioners between my Eastern and Western medicine on my side. And some of the things that affect Black people as a whole are different that affect other races. So, really having a healthcare practitioner who knows your background and is concerned and wants to see your well being happen is another part of that holistic team. I know we can't always do that, but as much as we can. And also, part of that holistic team is mental health for me. Also making sure that it's mind, body, and spirit and soul, all the things are all part of your holistic self and your holistic well-being and health.
Yeah, you just made me think I have 3 women of color as well, and another, healthcare organization is Black owned, even if the person that I mostly communicate with is not. Is
Yeah,
she's still a woman, but she's not of color. So
yeah,
I do seek that out when I'm looking for a healthcare team. Sometimes it works in my favor and sometimes it doesn't, as in my story earlier. That was one of the times that it wasn't in my favor to have a woman of color. Um, look thin slice me and make some snap judgments.
yeah. So our tip of the day is to look at your health holistically and take a holistic approach to your care. Until next time.
Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and follow us on all the podcast channels and on IG, or go to brandonfiles.com to find the links.
All right, bye.
Bye. Thank you for rocking with us as we embark on this journey. The Brandon Files podcast is a labor of love. Be sure to follow us on YouTube, IG, and Facebook at Brandon Files and check back for our next episode.